A quintet of ALSC members met at 4 ALA annual and midwinter meetings to request suggestions from ALSC members, to review the criteria, and to discuss the entire body of books by the best of the best contributors to the field. We committed ourselves to reading and rereading books by many worthy creators. The committee is pleased that the Laura Ingalls Wilder Award will be presented each year in the future. With recognition and gratitude for their expertise and commitment, I thank the thoughtful librarians Christopher A. Brown, Kathleen T. Horning, Jane B. Marino, Ellen Hunter Ruffin, committee members. For almost 50 years, Donald Cruz wrote and illustrated and continues to create books that reach even the youngest toddler set. The quintet ALSC members selected this Donald Cruz for the 2015 Laura Ingalls Wilder Award. Donald Cruz elevated books for the very young children to an art form. His bold illustrations raise the ordinary into stylized representations. He is a master at pacing. The ingenious use of design and color made his works both dynamic and accessible, especially to youngsters. Mr. Cruz remains popular with young children, generation after generation. Donald Cruz was born in 1938 in Newark, New Jersey, to a creative seamstress mother and energetic railroad working father. During summers, Cruz traveled by train to rural Cottondale, Florida, to stay with his grandmother, whom he called Big Mama. He graduated from Cooper Union for the Advancement of Science and Art in New York City in 1959. Returning from a stint in the U.S. Army in Germany, Cruz and his late wife, Ann Jonas, returned with two little bundles, baby Nina and what was to become his first book, We Read A to Z, published in 1967. It continues to reside in school and public libraries and remains in print today. Companion to the alphabet book, 10 Black Dots, was the concept book about numbers that followed the very next year. Then Freight Train, published in the next decade, introduced basic concepts through boldly colored, accurately named train cars. With swift, linear patterns and hues, Cruz conveys anticipation and depicts the motion and exhilaration of a passing train. He built turn the page excitement with the ever-increasing speed of the train until only smoke is left in its wake. Truck followed 2 years later, revealing its contents, tricycles, at its closure. One selection committee member recalled a toddler trundling into the library, eagerly yearning for the book he sought. Truck, truck. The child's world expanded with the motion-swirling carousel, busy port harbor, the straight-back marchers and parade, and the ubiquitous school bus. A helmeted girl in red passed other riders to win in bicycle race. Flying provided the novice traveler with sequence procedures, while Sail Away captured a sailing excursion from dawn to dusk, introducing yet another means of transportation. Autobiographical Big Mama placed childhood memories of the rural South in perspective. Donald Cruz's book appeal is not limited to the youngest set. With either a primary or secondary color scheme and crisp design. Each timeless title delights the parents, librarians, and teachers who share them with children. Now it is my delight to present the 2015 Laura Ingalls Wilder Award to Donald Cruz.
Thank you very much. I have a tough act to follow, so I hope I'll try to come up to the task. I want to thank the American Library Association and the Association for Library Services to Children, especially the Laura Ingalls Wilder Committee for selecting me for this award. Thank you to the chair, Karen Nelson Hoyle, and to Christopher Brown, Kathleen Horning, Jane Marino, and Ella Holland Ruffin. And special thanks to Greenwell Books from the beginning until now for our long and wonderful association. I was astonished when I got the call informing me of your choice. Truly, I thought it must be a mistake. Thankfully, it was not. I cannot consider accepting this award you've given me, however, without sharing with my late wife, Ann Jonas. Without her, I would not have begun the journey toward this place, nor been able to stay the course that got me here. The journey has been long and wonderful. How do we do it? I'm not a believer in destiny, although it might look that way from what I'm about to say. Yogi Berra, the legendary New York Yankees catcher famous for his aphorisms, said, "When you come to a fork in the road, take it." We did. My family lived in Newark, New Jersey. Both my parents have Southern roots. My mother from Cottondale, Florida, and my father from Henderson, North Carolina. Their farm roots produce people with the need and the ability to find inventive solutions to everyday problems. These solutions had to be crafted from whatever materials are at hand. Artistic solutions sometimes, practical solutions always. My mother was an accomplished seamstress. She worked in the garment industry in Newark and apparently was one of their best workers. She followed patterns and preset instructions and found creative alternatives when she had to. I remember her turning brightly colored feed bags into dresses, cotton dresses for my sisters. Almost every year, we spent the summer months in Florida at my grandparents' farm. As I wrote in my book, Big Mamas, we called my grandma Big Mama. Not that she was big, but she was Mama's mama. She didn't read well, and my ability to read to her impressed her. She declared early on that I was clever and smart and would someday be somebody. Of course, most big mamas say that about their grandsons. But I didn't know that then, and I considered it prophecy meant for me alone. Failure was impossible. My mother as well was always very encouraging. She passed away in 2009 at the age of 105. She especially liked my autobiographical books, Big Mamas and Shortcut. My father took a more nuanced view and mostly wanted me to just to succeed at something. He was not specific about what that might be. He worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad by night and as an independent small job provider during the day. His work on the railroad got us free passage for our yearly trips to Florida. As children, our lives in Newark were spent mainly in school or on the streets. Our apartment was very small. We made our own wagons and scooters, forts and cabins. We staged plays and made the costumes and scenery. We made one working bicycle out of two that didn't work and one scooter out of a pair of skates. It might have been possible to buy some of these things, but not as much fun. We all did fairly well in school, but I developed a tendency to doodle in the margins of papers instead of solving the problems at hand. My mother was summoned to school for consultation more than once. Our school had a small library. Individual classrooms had books, and art was part of most days. And Saturday and art classes were available at Newark's Arts High School. We had books at home, lots of books illustrated with pictures, which extended the pleasure and understanding of the words. Fork in the road. I applied to and was accepted at Newark's Arts High School. This magnet school attracted students from a citywide pool and opened the possibility of new friends. The most significant person for me was a teacher I met in school in senior year, Seymour Lansman. He was instructional, inspirational, and patient. He introduced us to art and culture. We read the New Yorker and designed covers for it. We copied art from books and posters. He got us into the habit of reading the New York Times and taking advantage of the Newark Museum. At some point in the year, he asked me about my plans after graduation. Then he announced the plan I should follow. He said, you will apply to Cooper Union, you will take the test, you will be admitted, and you will do well. Then he walked away. Once again, failure was impossible. We stayed in touch until his death. Fork in the road. Cooper Union was a fantastic place in the 50s. It was full of like-minded students and instructors who appreciated willing learners. It was an ideal place on which to discover museums and music and film and the electric environment of New York City. Our graphics instructor, Rudolph de Herrick, gave each student a private evaluation early in his class. When my turn came, he said, Don, you don't have very much talent, but you have the determination to stay with a problem until you make something of it. Later, he denied having said it, but I considered it a compliment. Ann and I met in the second year graphics class. We had an immediate attraction and quickly became fast friends. We shared a reserved reluctance about exchanging personal information, except for each other. We graduated in 1959. Ann went to work in Rudolph de Herrick's graphic design offices right after graduation, having been without doubt one of his most talented students. In late 1959, he hired me as assistant art director at Dance Magazine, where he was the art director. My job required meetings in his office, in his design offices, which brought Ann and I together again. Our friendship blossomed into a lifelong love affair lasting 51 years. We did briefly discuss the social impediments of a black-white relationship, but we decided that we had no problem with it, and we'd avoid anyone who did. Our new friend, Rudy, suggested that since we were artists, I could probably see this better with my glasses on. Since we were artists, non-traditional behavior was expected from us, and it was even an asset. Nothing major ever seriously challenged our lives. I was drafted in 1961, drafted and deployed to Frankfurt, Germany. Ann and I talked about what this would do to our relationship. She decided that ending it was not an option. Shortly after I left for Germany, she placed her cats in a good home and came to Frankfurt to work and to be near me. Fork in the road for both of us. We were married after about 6 months in Germany. Our first daughter, Nina, was born there. As a married soldier, I lived off post and had time to refurbish and rework my portfolio. Some of my favorite designers, Paul Rand, Bruno Munari, Charles Eames, had worked in projects for children. I decided I would include a book for children in the mix of samples of things that I could do. I was enamored of the spare, abstract approach of Swiss design movement, and so I used abstract images to introduce the alphabet and words in a book I called We Read A to Z. The German couple with whom we shared our house were very excited by it and suggested I submit it to German publishers. I did, and it was promptly and reasonably rejected. It was, after all, a primer written in English. The German rejections were all very polite and in German, and since I didn't read a lot of German, the sting of rejection was minimal. And the book, of course, was simply meant as a portfolio piece. Fork in the road. Back in the USA, we are now 4 people, Anne and me and our 2 daughters, Nina and Amy. Anne was determined that we could find freelance work and that would make the most of our talents. We'll eat, she said. While Anne stayed home with our children, I secured jobs for us to work on. We designed jackets for adult and young adult books, college texts and mysteries. We designed record covers and brochures and all manner of printed material. We even provided art for a congressional campaign. We did jackets for such books as Adventures in Electrochemistry and Introduction to Thermodynamics. Very few authors of these books ever thought to comment on the success or failure of our cover choices. Among the first art directors I met was Ava Weiss, who is miraculously here tonight. She gave me some of my first assignments, and when they were completed, she'd look at them and proclaim that I was a genius. Failure was impossible. I would duck into our offices sometimes on the way to other appointments for a genius recharge. In due course, I met Elizabeth Shube at Harper & Row. She asked if I'd ever considered doing a picture book. I said I had done one, but not for publication. Not really a proactive response. Libby insisted on seeing it, and she passed it on to Ursula Nordstrom. We Read A to Z was published by Harper in 1967. I was elated, but not yet convinced that children's books should be my main focus. So Anne and I continued as freelance designers. But I was curious enough about my ability to create something else for children, this time intending it for publication. From the start, I designed and illustrated 10 Black Dots, an introduction to the basic numbers. Libby had moved on to Scribner's by then, and it was published there in 1968. Fork in the Road. As a design organization, Anne and I were at best not first call. We had good reputation for creativity and reliability, but we never got major assignments. A good friend, John Condon, had some good advice for me. He explained that, as we both knew, freelance work was ephemeral and styles changed. He said, find something that only you can do and be the only one who can supply it. What came to my mind was my books. Fork in the Road. I took his advice and began to think about another picture book. The result was Freight Train. I submitted it to Greenwillow Books. Thank you. I submitted it to Greenwillow Books, where both Libby and Ava now were, and they and Susan Hirschman responded to the dummy with a kind of enthusiasm that keeps creative juices flowing. Susan wanted to buy Freight Train before she had seen the entire dummy, but I told her she couldn't have it until she looked at all of it. Freight Train was my first book in my new career as a full-time children's book creator. And largely due to the attention it received from librarians, from all of you here tonight, it was a good beginning. After that, the things that had pleased me as a child, trucks and planes and boats and buses, bicycles, seemed like an appropriate subjects. Many of my books are taught in school and cataloged as transportation, and that's fine with me. I enjoy finding the exciting details of a vehicle's trip through 32 pages. The only figures in the early books were drivers and pilots and engineers. Then in 1983 in Parade, I added a cameo of myself, sort of a Hitchcock moment. And once I started adding figures to my stories, I thought I could make people as central characters. In the autobiographical books, Big Mamas and Shortcut, I had the opportunity to put a physical black presence in my books. My world is full of black people, and they had always been in my books when a person was needed. But now they were the very subject of the book, the lead characters of the story. The locale in both books is Cottondale, and the characters are my grandparents, my mother, father, brothers, sisters, and cousins. I was back at my beginning. My decision to focus on all my attention on books caused the number of outside jobs to dwindle. Anne needed to continue creating, and I suggested that she try a picture book. She did, and was successful as I knew she would be. Convincing her to use her maiden name was a bit of a problem. I wanted her to be appreciated on her own merits, and she was. Round Trip, Reflections, and The Quilt speak for themselves. Thank you. Anne is the love of my life, first, last, and always. She is, as I said at the beginning, most responsible for giving me, us, the courage to try to be successful artists in New York. She supplied the will to stay on course and to try and try again until we accomplished what we had started. I can't say that too loudly or too often. Any honor that comes to me, I unreservedly share with her, and would not have made this journey without all of you. We thank you. Thank you. I have nothing else.